you have to understand what pain point you are solving for the customer. It's a very easy way to understand sales, and it's a very easy way to understand customers' psychology. And that is, every single person, every one of us, we have a pain point. We have an issue that we need resolving. So if you can talk about the problem, and if you can talk about the problem that I maybe have, and then if you can mention the implications of that problem, and then give the solution, you're onto a winner. And in essence, what I've basically explained to you right now is a method called SPIN, SPIN. Actually, it's documented a lot. It's very easy to understand, but it's very, very difficult to implement, right? And SPIN is basically where you understand, and I don't want to give the abbreviations because I'd rather just explain exactly what it stands for, right? Rather, I don't want to mention what it stands for necessarily. I'd rather explain exactly what SPIN does. And in essence, what you're doing is you're talking about a problem that you might have. And let me give you guys an example. You want a car right now because, your car broke down. So I give you a call, or I speak to you, or I send you an email, and this applies to emails as well as calling, as well as marketing. However you want to call it, sales is the route you take can vary, but sales actually is very, very similar in all aspects. So how I would go about maybe selling you a car is, how are you getting about right now? For anyone in car sales right now, or anyone thinking about anything selling right now, if you're selling anything, take notes, right? And so what I would say is something like, how are you getting about at the moment? And what's the real reason you're looking for a new car? I would try to find that out, right? And say the person says, oh, well, my car's just messed up, and so I'm looking for a new car. Fabulous. I would say, oh, okay, so how are you getting about at the moment? And the person might say something like, I'm getting the bus, I'm getting taxis, I'm getting Uber. Maybe they're getting Uber every day. I'll be like, oh, wow, that must cost you a lot. And they might say, yeah, it does. And then I'll say something like, how much does that cost you? And I might say £30 a day. Then I'll say something like, oh wow, £150 a week you're spending on obviously getting up and down to your workplace. Be like, yeah, that is how much I'm spending, right? Now there's an argument to be made here, actually, to be fair, because Uber might be cheaper than him actually even buying the car. But a lot of people, the way they work in terms of human psychology is they don't want to spend that £150, right? And then later on, I might ask something about his family. Do you have children? Do you have kids? That sort of thing, family. And if the person says yes, or if the person says parents, anything. And then I would ask, oh, like, how are you getting about? Like, if you want to take them somewhere shopping or something like that, obviously you're not driving. Is that you getting Uber again, or how does that work? And the person might say, yeah, like, I have to get her an Uber again. So what you're basically doing is you're talking about the problem that they're facing right now, and you're reminding them of how much that problem is impacting them. Because a lot of the times, what we do? We know we have a problem, but we don't think about how it is affecting us. We don't want to think about that. It's not a nice thing to think about. So we think about the problem. We don't want to think about how it affects us. So your job as someone selling something, as a product or a whatever sort of thing, is to talk about the problem and then remind them how that is affecting that person. Because once you talk about how that is affecting the person, then it's extremely easy to give them a solution, and that solution being your product or service. And so an example that I have, again, been doing for many, many, many years is in recruitment. When we call a company and the company says they need someone or they are hiring, I will talk about, well, if you're hiring at the moment, is someone else looking after that work? Or what happens if this work doesn't get completed in time? And what if we don't end up finding someone for 2 months? How does that affect the business? Now, that person might not have even been thinking about that, but me asking that question, the problem is now being emphasized by my questions. And so now when I start talking to them, they might be like, yeah, we need to get someone in quite quickly. We need to get someone in within 2 weeks, etc., etc. And then I can say things like, oh, fantastic, not a problem. Let me go and find you someone. And within a case of 48 hours, I will find the CV. But do you think we can interview next week? Because obviously it's a priority role and we want to make sure we get this filled as soon as possible.